No, it's too
colorless.
Yes. No,
So they will notice the change definitely. If you choose to go
Yes.
with the colors, it will be something else.
Good morning, everybody. Sorry about that delay. I don't know how you did it, Heidi, but our presentation seemed to dovetail beautifully. So I'm going to say many of the same things that Sammy just said and that we're all talking about. But one of the things that we do at Instinct and Reason is we kind of try to contextualise the mega trends. I mean, one of the big things happening in society that we walk into a group discussion or when we start to analyse some data kind of gives us the context of what's really happening in society. So one of the key trends that we try and keep a handle on is this whole issue that we live in a world of declining attention. And it really is the greatest challenge for all marketing institutions or organisations on the planet. How do we actually get the attention of human beings so that we can have a conversation with people about different things? And so one of these things that we look at is this issue of declining attention. And this afternoon we'll talk a little bit more about the fact that we live in a country where demographics are changing fairly rapidly. And what does that mean for various things? When it comes to declining attention, there was a great book written here in the States put together by Accenture, I think, a while ago, which talks about the attention economy. And one of the ideas that they have in that, there are about 5 keys to how we can actually grab the attention of people. One of them is that we have to reframe the problem. We have to be different. We have to get people to rethink about the issue in a different way. So we'll talk a little bit about that because it relates to what I'm talking about. Because we evaluate the road safety campaigns in New South Wales. So we run 24 different road safety education campaigns, social change campaigns that are trying to get people to drive a little bit more carefully, I guess, on the roads. And all of social change in Australia is driven by the stages of change model. I guess the psychologists know all about that. But of course we've got to find a way for the comms element or the education element to fit into that stage of change model. But what we're really trying to do with the education and the communications is shift people from not really thinking that drink driving is a problem to starting to think, oh, maybe that is an issue, to, well, how would I go about making sure that didn't happen, to never driving when you've been drinking again. So this is the stage of change kind of model. And eventually, of course, people get people to action. Because our clients are running 24 of these campaigns, it's complicated, they're all over the place, they've got different target audiences. But of course, ads wear out as well. So they really wanted us to give them some guidance on which ads are working, when are they not working, could they be enhanced in any way, are there elements of the ad that's not working, and of course, when do they wear out and it's time for us to produce another TVC. The picture in New South Wales is that we had 363 fatal crashes in 2010. That was down 43 crashes, but we're still killing 405 people on the roads every year just in New South Wales. So, I just popped this in for you, Hardy, which is they somehow worked out that that's worth 5.11 billion to the economy. And they use willingness to pay. I'm not sure how they did that, but willingness to pay methodology to work that all out.
What's the population in New South Wales?
Population in New South Wales is about 7 million.
But that's a fatal crash just about every day, or
Yep.
sometimes 1.5.
Yep, we're losing a person every single day. And look, that's down, and it's been coming down for a long time. And it's attributed to lots of things. Yes, there's a social change campaign at work, but they're also doing other things like red light cameras. So if people run a red light, they'll get a huge fine. They've introduced double demerits, so that there's a demerit system. And when you run out of points, when you've been caught speeding 4 times, you lose your licence for 3 months or something. They've put in random breath testing so that if you're driving down the road, they'll pull all the cars over and test you for your blood alcohol level. and fine you again or put you in jail. But at the end of the day, even though things are getting better, there still remains one person dying every day on New South Wales roads. So it's still a substantial problem, and as a result of that, the extensive education and social change campaign continues to run across the state every year. So why are people dying on the roads? They're partly dying because they're young. Young Australian men 18 to 25 just drive their cars too fast. So nearly a quarter of all the fatalities are just young kids driving too fast in their cars. A lot of them happen on our country roads. So it's when they're driving very fast, they get out on the roads, and 68% of all our fatal crashes occur out on our country roads. 11% of them died because they didn't wear their seatbelt. Not very many people don't wear their seatbelts, but they tend to die if they do have to crash. Fatigue's also a big problem in Australia. There's fairly big distances, people travelling, and they'll drive when they're tired. I remember doing one group discussion where a young school teacher had been posted to the country about 400 kilometres outside of Sydney, and he would ride his motorbike down to the city for the weekend. He'd party all weekend and he'd ride home on Sunday night to go to work on Monday. And he was having those micro sleeps on his motorcycle where he'd be falling asleep driving home. And of course that's a recipe for getting killed, really. And of course drinking is a big issue in Australia too. 51% of all the fatal crashes Thursday, Friday and Saturday somehow have alcohol involved in them. And the other thing, older people too just seem to get run over on the roads all the time. They won't walk to the crossings, they'll just walk across and expect other people to slow down for them. So look, I won't show you all 24 of the ads, but I thought I'd just show you a couple of them, because one of the themes that we're picking up from Sammy's talk, of course, is that you need to reframe the problem. You need to make people think differently about this issue if you want them to change the way they behave. So I'll give you a couple of little examples eventually.
Any cab, sir? All right, thanks, cheers.
Cab is your name?
Every police car is a mobile RPT. So if you're worried about getting breath tested, you should be.
And that ad's called paranoia, but the whole idea is these young guys think they won't get caught. So they're having to reframe that into, well, you just might. So, and get them to change what they're doing. Takes a slightly different tack.
I wish Lynn could walk. She could run like a child.
I wish she could feed herself, get herself a drink. I wish she could open the door when the doorbell rang.
I wish speed wasn't an issue for people's busy lives.
I wish I lived there.
So that one is talking about speeding and trying to get people to think about speeding, because this is the end result. And again, it's not what you think about when you're rushing to get to work or whatever, but it can have some pretty amazing consequences. Something a bit lighter.
In a city However short the journey, however long you've been driving, however well you know the road, don't forget to clip every trip. Authorised by the New South Wales Government, Sydney.
So as I mentioned earlier, 68% of all our fatal crashes happen in country areas, but the farmers won't put their seatbelts on because they think I'm only going down the road, you know, or I'm going from this paddock to that paddock, and they won't put them on. So it's just trying to get them to reframe that problem, that it's not that much effort to grab it. I'll show you this one.
These holidays, I have a few questions for you. Would you rather A, miss the start of the footy, or B, run a red light, T-bone another car, and give your mate brain damage? Should you A, arrive a few minutes into the film, or B, rush, lose control in the rain, and snap your girlfriend's spine? Too often I see the trauma when drivers get it wrong. Choose wisely.
Authorised by the New South Wales Government, Sydney.
This doctor works in the emergency section of the hospital, and he turned up at our client's office and just said, I want to make an ad, and this is what I want to make. Any idea which of those ads you reckon would be most effective? Any?
You mean of all of them?
Yeah, just out of those few.
For the ladies.
Met the lady, Lynn, yeah, that's a very good one, yeah. It's not the strongest though.
I think the doctor.
The doctor, yeah. Very simple ad, nothing fancy whatsoever, but that's the ad that's working, and working with the target audience of young men in terms of you know, what they're doing on the road. So, but we'll come to how that is the case. So look, one of the things, first of all, I just want to make the point, social change campaigns do play a role in social change, because we can see over the time that these ads have been running that people claiming that speeding has just been dropping away constantly over a long period of time. And I guess most importantly, it's been falling for those who are driving more than 10 kilometres per hour over the speed limit all the time. So we're seeing this trend working away. So they have been excited by the fact that they're actually they are getting some change in the marketplace. So look, just to say, this is really, you know, a lot of social change campaigns are run in Australia where they're trying to get people to stop smoking or to drive safer, and they tend to use this framework, the stages of change model, where we recognise that people aren't thinking about driving safer or driving slower or not rushing or not drinking and driving. So we have to take people from that position where it's not even on the agenda, to get it on the agenda, where they're aware of a problem, they're not necessarily doing anything yet, then you have to get them to prepare, because people don't change habits of a lifetime on the basis of a 30-second ad. You know, there's got to be a lot of factors working to actually change human behaviour. And then, of course, you need them to somehow, at some point, slip into the action and actually start to drive more slowly, or whatever it is we're trying to achieve. And of course, there's always a maintenance issue with any social change program. So people are bouncing back, you know, they'll start rushing again and start speeding. Our comms model, just one of the basic, you know, ones of, you know, we've got to get cut through, we've got to get clarity of the message, we have to get involvement, then we want some sort of motivation to change what we're doing.